You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good session yesterday
Very good session yesterday.
with your massively adapted dumbbells.
I know. The technique has been mastered.
One day it's gonna fall off and fucking.
I know. Sometimes I put it on there, so dodgy. I get so many comments about it, like, oh, it's gonna fall on your head.
Are they rubber or metal that the 2.5s you attach?
They're metal as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know.
That'll be another
The
trick.
only way is to get stronger and use the 60s.
Yeah.
Because like, there's the 50 and then it just jump straight to the 60.
That
Nothing
would be
between.
fucking ridiculous, dude, on incline. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'll get there soon. Sweet,
Yeah,
man.
cool.
I am just gonna click record. We think it's recording. It is.
Cool.
Cool. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Bridging the Gap podcast. I am here with a very, very good friend and world champion bodybuilder, AJ Morris. This is a little bit of a different turn than the normal podcast. We don't always talk about bodybuilding on here, but I want to on this one because this is like a unique chance to talk to you. And it's going to be an amazing one for you guys to listen to. So I'm super glad to have AJ on the podcast. Thanks for coming by, mate.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. This is 2 for 2.
Two for two.
Podcast on my end yesterday, and now I'm back on yours. So, yeah, very excited to be on. I listen to your podcast very frequently, dude, amongst the many that are out there. And I think that, I'm very excited to be on it because it is quite an individual podcast. And I think one of the reasons why I listen to it is that a lot of podcasts nowadays are getting kind of repetitive. Same guests, same topics.
For sure.
Same chats, and it's just like, I've kind of heard this before, so no, man, you're doing a great job, and I'm happy to be on.
I appreciate that a lot. So just before I jump into kind of getting into it with AJ, I just want to say AJ is a huge inspiration to me, and probably like early last year when I first kind of like started getting hold of AJ and started understanding the movement that he was doing. It was a huge, and I even told you this, I think back in the day, like I was kind of like emulating him. I was trying to copy him everything I did because everything he did was like on the money. So I just want to say thank you for that. Because
man.
many things that I've been doing have been trying to emulate things that AJ's been doing, and AJ's younger than me as well, so that really says something for the head that he's got right now, which is awesome.
Thanks,
so
man. Thank you.
when I bring special guests onto here, we like to get to know them a little bit. So I've listed a few questions. They're going to be either or questions, so you'll just pick one of the options. Let's say you've got to pick one of them for the rest of your life. Which one are you going to pick?
Okay.
So
all right.
Let's do this. Barbells or dumbbells?
Barbells.
Squats or deadlifts?
Fuck. Deadlifts. Deadlifts currently.
Oats or cream of rice?
Oh, oats, man.
Thought so. Podcasts or music?
Oh, fuck. Music has to be.
Big legs, big back.
Fuck.
That's difficult.
Fuck.
That's a difficult.
Big legs.
Big legs.
Yeah.
Comedy or thriller?
Thriller.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Working out alone or working out with a partner?
Definitely alone.
Nice. And final question. WMBF Pro or a couple £1 million?
WMBF Pro.
I knew it. No hesitation needed. I knew that. I wanted to leave that there.
Money.
Yeah, I like to set that question up there because I want people to understand like the mindset that you have to be a world champion, to have your goal in that tunnel vision. Like nothing gets in the way. Nothing gets in the way. So I just want to transition into kind of like what this year and what's different this year versus last year. So for those of you guys that don't know, AJ prepped for, was it 45 weeks? I think we said yesterday on the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much 45 weeks in total.
So
yeah,
a long old time, and by the end of it, ended up a world champion, guys. A world champion. I don't care where you are from. If you're a world champion, that is some king shit right there, and it's amazing to see. So what I want to know is what are you going to do different this year or the next prep that you do to make things better? You've already got the world championships, obviously. What's going to be different this time?
Sure. So thanks very much for all the kind words that you've had to say so far, man. I'm already Already getting butterflies in my stomach. But yeah, dude, I think this off season has just been drastically different to previous off seasons. Very much in a similar thought process as you've been. What we talked about yesterday in terms of just simply looking at the off season as a chance to replicate what we were doing in prep with regards to consistency, our execution within not just the exercise form, but everything we're doing, how we execute our day on a whole is just geared towards the end goal of either the next competition season, a pro card. It's like something is in our heads and we want it more than anything. That's really what's changed my perspective. And I think coming off the back of last year, obviously having a lot of success, in reality, Josh, I think what it made me realize is that, wow, like I can actually be a half decent bodybuilder. I'd won at a regional level prior to this. I'd won 2 regional level shows, but every time I went to a British final as a teenager, I wouldn't be in the top 6, and it frustrated the living daylights out of me. I wanted to be in the top 6. I wanted to be battling in the top echelons of the sport, and I really thought that from my work ethic from the get-go that I did have something that, from a work ethic standpoint, could get me there. So for me, the reality was, 2017 made me realize that I can actually be pretty good. So that motivation fired me up for an off-season phase. I already knew my plan of attack coming out of the competition prep season. I think if I was to give any advice to anyone coming out of competition season, in comparison to you, where you finished and you were like low calories, high cardio, and you went straight up to a very aggressive reverse, I think the majority of the reversing period should be done in your competition prep. Like, you should be at the end of your competition season on decently high calories, close to maintenance, limiting cardio, bringing cardio down, potentially only using expenditure tools like steps, which are relatively low intensity and not very taxing. And that allows the transition out of the preps to be so much smoother. I was already reversed by the final show, had the goal set. I remember coming back on the plane from the Worlds to when I went to New York to stay there for a bit, and I literally had, because when you're on a plane you can't do shit, so I was on my notes section planning out exactly how my diet would look, exactly what training approach I was going to go for, because I transitioned into an upper-lower split. I went very high volume, very high frequency coming out of my shows, and I had it all planned out. So the minute I got back from New York, I went at it, and I was after my show, man, I was just ridiculously off the charts motivated, to the point where it's actually detrimental. I started training twice a day, and it was just detrimental, to be honest. I probably lost more muscle tissue after the show than I did during the prep. But yeah, so in terms of what's changed, it's really just been a complete rethinking of how I approach the off season and treating it more so like a prep. So every meal counts, the timing matters, the food options matter, and it has definitely changed my physique in this phase, 100%. I've got a photo that if today's training is really boring, I'll post up on Instagram, because if training sucks, which probably will because it's deload, I'll put up the photo instead. So I put alongside my last off season at 180 pounds, most muscular, to the one that I took yesterday, and the difference is quite drastic. So it will definitely be up by the time that people watch this podcast. So if you want to refer to something to understand what a structured off season and obviously a bit more muscle makes, then look at that picture, because there is a big difference at the same body weight. So that can only mean one thing, more muscle, better body composition, better structure. Exactly. So yeah, man, that's really what the off season has been about for me. Awesome.
And what I think is really important that you mentioned there was using that motivation that you had built in that on season, because those of you who have prepped out there that are listening to this, and those of you that haven't, when you go through prep, it's almost like you're honing all of your skills. It's almost like efficiency gets more, everything gets done, because you've got that regimen, because you've got that goal. And I always thought to myself, why can't I just do this in the off season? Because I don't know, because I wasn't controlling it well. I didn't have the markers there, health markers. I was binging and doing all this stupid stuff, and I didn't take that prep mindset into my off season until this last off season. And I think for myself as well, it's made a hell of a change. So, any of you guys who are feeling slightly unmotivated post competition, maybe just address like what's happened there, because you should be more motivated than ever after that. 100%. Now, like, what I want to note to people here is that you are a world champion, but you didn't coach, like, you didn't have a coach, which I find like very impressive, because my mind goes everywhere and I want to prep, so I love to have someone there to talk to. And I just wondered, did you have anyone to talk to about your physique as you went through that process, or was it just like a one-man process, and you just confident in yourself from that?
Sure. I don't think prep is ever going to be a one-man process in any sort of setup, whether you're with a coach, whether you're not with a coach. I think that there's always a greater degree of people involved than just one. And for me, I think at the end of my prep, I had pretty much two Jacks that were very integral in my prep. So Jack Piad, who was taking all my photos and normally just telling me to eat more and stop doing steps and things like that. It was at the end, it was more so of a case of Jack telling me to back off and saying that, you know, you're actually ready, you just need to just sort of cruise in and back off some things now. And then I had also Thorburn as well, Jack Thorburn, doing a lot of my analysis from a pictures perspective. I'd send him a lot, so I sent him pretty much daily photos in the lead up to the Worlds, my peak week for the UKD British Finals. I sent him all my photos as well, and he was very good at just sort of taking more of an analytical approach to things. He knew exactly how I was doing things. He knew exactly what my meals looked like, how I'd structure them, and he'd always sort of pretty much second guess what I was going to do, and he'd just normally say, just give me the nod and agree. And I think looking back, I think that was very important for me, especially from a conditioning standpoint, because my calling card as a junior was always just condition. There was guys that were 15 or 20 pounds heavier than me on stage, so I couldn't really play the big or the full card. I had to play being in shape. And like to have someone like Thorburn looking at me and saying, "You're on the money, mate," I knew that I'd probably be on the money, because I've never seen someone as shredded as he gets. So for me, that was really how I ran things. And I agree with you, Josh. My head sometimes did go places, and it's not that fun when you're coaching yourself. But the thing is, I think the one thing that kept me most locked in towards the end was the fact that I'd already got my food up to a sort of a reverse state, and I was eating I was basically just becoming very robotic in the process. Even now in the off season, like the only time my head slips is when I veer away from a structured plan. Like if I have a day where I start thinking, should I eat this or should I eat that? Should I change this, change that? As soon as I think about changing something, I slip, and then my performance slips as well. No shit, because you're just changing your entire structure. So structure is key. Once you've got the structure in place, it sounds sad, but you almost have to become a bit robotic with it, and just eat your meals, do your training, do your cardio, and just kind of switch off a little and allow yourself to sort of do the analytical process on your physique, as opposed to, what special meal you're going to have, what new special sauce you're going to put on your foods. Just fucking just tick your boxes as basic as it gets towards that point.
Absolutely amazing. I just think to go through that process with just like people you can count on one hand, just like having to help you is really invaluable. And it's the same thing, the same thing for me. Like my girlfriend at the time, she supported me so much.
Absolutely.
And it's what I needed. And I even messaged you a few times as well, just like for peace of mind as well. So for anyone out there who is confident in their own knowledge, you can do it. But just make sure that you're kind of outsourcing, because when you're in that headspace of prep, things are very like blinkers off and your tunnel vision and I need condition more. If you've already got the condition, you might not need the condition anymore, so stop digging.
Sure.
And that was something that you did amazing, and I'd love to talk just quickly about that reverse diet, because I've never seen it. When I watched it, I had never seen anyone reverse diet like that. For anyone who doesn't know about reverse dieting, it's essentially once you've kind of reached peak condition, or the condition that you want to take into a show, you're just essentially reversing the process of what you did, bringing up calories, taking down cardio. And like, just for the listeners here, can you compare where you ended your prep, like the day you ended your prep, calories, steps, all that kind of stuff, versus like probably the deepest part of prep when you were still digging, and what the difference was?
Yeah, so the difference being I was digging the most before my first qualifier, which was the BNBF finals, and I was on about my low days outside of refeed. So my my weekly caloric intake was probably closer to like 2,200 at its lowest. That's very low for me. But my lowest low days on rest days, because I was doing a bit of a carb cycle, were definitely below 2,000 calories. And my expenditure at the time my steps were at 20,000, and I was doing 30 minutes on the Stairmaster every morning at like level 11, which is fucking fast.
Yeah, I fucking know level 11.
Fucking fast, man. I barely do level 9 right now. So yeah, that was blowing my brains off in the morning, and that was like 5 times a week. I think the only days I didn't do the Stairmaster were leg days.
Yeah.
But it would interrupt my leg days anyway, to be honest, because it was so taxing. It was like a leg workout pretty much. So that was the lowest, and then after that, I started to pull back on the cardio a little bit and focus more so on steps, but my calories remained quite similar. And then that was sort of the period of time until I got to peak stage condition, or what I deemed as peak stage condition. And then to give disparity, by the worlds, I was on 3,000 calories, and my steps were between 20 and 25,000. And no Stairmaster, no formal cardio at all, just steps. But the steps were done at that point in a fashion which wasn't just accumulating steps. So it wasn't like I'd go out for like a really slow walk.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if you try and get 20,000 steps and you just accumulate them, you're going to be all fucking day on your feet. That's not fun. So I prefer to just get them done in like 2 power walks. So I usually do like an hour of like a pretty damn fast walk in the morning, on my treadmill, and then I'd usually do half an hour in the evening, and the rest I'd just accumulate throughout the day. Okay. So if you kind of look at it that way, it's still like an hour and a half of cardio, man.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was doing hardly anything. I was still doing a lot, but I believed at that point, I'd prefer to have been doing a lot of cardio and been eating more than been eating like a rabbit and been not doing much.
Yeah.
In terms of whether I changed that, I think I could have gotten away with doing a lot less, because at that point your body becomes very adaptive to the stimulus of cardio, and especially steps. So you would my heart rate have really been high enough throughout that hour of steps to really signify doing them? I don't think so. I think I could have gotten away with doing either a shorter bout with a higher intensity, or just not doing as much.
Yeah.
I think I'd have looked very similar, and that sort of reared its head when I finished dieting, because I took away most of that fast walking and replaced it with just like sightseeing and shit when I was in the States, and my weight stayed fairly similar despite food going up. And I probably looked a fair bit better as well in the week after, because you don't realize how much inflammation you carry from all the expenditure that you're doing. I remember you were doing a lot as well, like on the stairs and stuff, and I think when you sunk all your carbohydrates and just your coach told you to pretty much sit still, your weight hardly moved that much, or initially hardly moved that much, because you took away a lot of the inflammation and then just replaced it with glycogen. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So whatever way you look at it, I was on a lot more food, and the expenditure was probably fairly similar. It wasn't perfect, but again, could I have done it better if someone was coaching me? Probably. There was maybe it told me to stop moving so much and eat a little bit more, but it was what it was in the process, and it ended up okay. It ended up all right.
It did. Not too bad. Not too bad. Awesome, man. It's so like refreshing to see stuff like this happen in front of my eyes as well, because I never even conceptualize what you did until you did it, and there you go. You proved everyone who did the opposite wrong, and that's the way that I want to do it next time for sure. So I remember you just coming out of that, you had your eyes set on 2020. Is that now 2019?
I think with the way that this year has gone, mate, and I just like watching the shows this year, just there's something about it when you just know that you just gotta go for it, and you just like gotta go with your gut instinct. And the way that I think I look at things as well, I look at things not just from a internal perspective with where my motivations lie. It's more so like externally what's going on. So what's going on with family life, what's going on with friendships, relationships, etc. That really puts me in a position to optimally like sort of capitalize on a prep. And right now with the way things are heading, obviously moving out soon, I'll be in my own place, I'll be in a better environment from a gym perspective. My support network at the moment is just ridiculous. I've got some really good people in my life, which I'm very lucky to have. And I think with that being said, it just sets me up for either a very productive off-season, which I don't think would be as productive as this year, because what we were talking about earlier from the motivation standpoint, like I can see my off-season fire starting to dwindle and my prep fire starting to build up, if you want to take it like that. So I think it's almost valid for me to take the momentum that I've gained in an off-season, apply it to a prep, and just see where I stand. And my perspective also is like, will I have the development, will I have the sort of the muscle maturity to stand where I need to stand and do what I want to do in the class that I'll be next year? I think from some perspectives I'll be at an advantage, because I will no longer have the weight disparity between me and someone else in a junior category where the weight is unlimited. I'll have a 154 pound weight cap. I believe that my stage weight will be low 150s anyway, so I'll be at the top end of a weight category. I've already been compared against some of the best lightweights in the UK at one of my qualifiers. I got the opportunity, luckily, to stand and take a load of shots, and also spend some time with the guy that actually won lightweight pro worlds, and I've got some pictures of me and him together. And obviously the lighting isn't stage lighting, and it's not maybe a fair comparison, but from a muscularity perspective, it wasn't like it was night and day when I was a junior.
Amazing.
And if it was night and day, I'd almost be like, Josh, I need 2 years. But a lot of people said to me when they saw those photos, it's not night and day. You need some more muscle, you need some more maturity, of course, but it's not night and day. And that's someone that's winning the pro class at Worlds. And my goal is obviously win the amateur class at Worlds in that category. So the level of competition, well, depends if a genetic freak shows up, but the level of competition should be somewhat lower. So I just feel quietly confident about approaching next year with a prep. All being good, touch wood, like no injuries, no niggles, good place calorie wise, good place body composition wise, and I'll drop the hammer, which is just fucking exciting.
Oh man, it gives me that feeling when you talk about it. I'm like, oh, let's fucking do it.
Jeez, and when it gives you that feeling, you know that you're in a good spot.
100%.
If going into a calorie deficit scares you or makes you a little bit like, oh fuck, I actually really prefer eating saurine and bagels. Fuck that. Just eat your saurine and bagels for another year. I look at food now and I'm just like,
that's what
I kind of prefer less of this.
That's exactly my mindset right now.
It's good. You're in a good spot.
For sure. One thing, you actually just touched on it very, very quickly. One thing that I've been struggling with, and this is the first time the podcast is hearing about it. First time I've actually probably talked about it publicly. One thing I've been struggling with, and I want to know how you deal with it, because I feel like you're very, your mental fortitude is admirable for sure, and your goals are just, I can see it, I can feel like your goals are that's it, it's do or die. I'm fucking getting this, what do you say to those people who pick up a dumbbell and grow like a motherfucker? And I look at them and I think, I work my ass off, I do every single thing, I count my sleep, I count my blood glucose, I do this, I do this, I do that, I do this, and you still look like that, and and I see them rep and they're just slapping it around, and I'm just like, it winds me up, and I'm struggling with it at the moment, how to deal with it and how to just forget those people and just think, get on with my own business, because that's obviously what I need to do. I just want to know, like, what's your thought process on that? Because there's those guys that you look at, like the fullness, the roundness, the shape, and they don't take drugs, and they're still 3 times the size of me, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think the answer lies in my reaction when I win a show.
Yeah.
Because if you look at when I won the Worlds, if you look at when I won the UK, if you were there when I won the BNBF Midlands, I won the bloody qualifier.
Yeah.
Like, I release so much energy when I know how much I've poured into the goal. I know that I've not been slapping around dumbbells. I know that I've not been missing a meal. I know that I've not been missing a moment of sleep. I know that I've been keeping my stress up. I know that I've been doing everything. And like when I beat someone that's slapping around dumbbells and like just growing like a weed, like that makes me feel so fucking good. And I would so much rather trade that. I'd rather have that feeling than have a genetic predisposition to build muscle. I'd rather have to work hard for it, and you know that's kind of why, you know, I do love natural bodybuilding, in the sense that, you know, when you're standing on stage in a drug-tested federation, that it is literally you versus someone else. That's, you know, it's not have they put in more this, have they used this fat burner versus that fat burner, have they, you know, implemented this drug at this point when you could have done that, you know, or have they even got more money to afford more drugs? Like, I don't know, man, but or their predisposition to respond to drugs, which you know, of course, is definitely a genetic component of assisted bodybuilding. Is like, some people respond to drugs very well, some people do not. So mate, like, and that's nothing against assisted bodybuilding. You know, I love bodybuilding in all of its forms, and I can see why people love the assisted route as well. I can really understand that. But yeah, for me, dude, just the understanding of that. Like, I went to bed every night, dude, thinking of winning the Worlds, and just when that happened, I can't describe how good that feeling felt. It's just a ridiculous feeling. It's like just euphoric. It's ridiculous, off the charts feeling. And like I go to bed most nights now thinking of the moment that I win the pro card. And I don't care when that moment happens, but I'm confident it will happen. And when it does, I know that all these days when I'm potentially eating food that I don't want to eat, or, you know, like just doing workouts that I sit there and write out my logbook and just think, fuck me, dude, like this is just going to take everything. And then I do it. When I do it, I know that no one else is doing this, or no one else can really try and match this. And you know, you're the same, dude. Like, there's very, 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 very few people, and I'm sure that you're learning this too. Very few people like us. There's very few. There's people that think they're like us, and there's people that think they can do what we do, but they really fucking don't. Once they get a taste of it, they don't like it. They can't stick to it for very long. And the amount of clients that I've had, and even people who are members of my site, that will approach me and say, AJ, I'm not going to be a member of your site, or AJ, I don't want to be your client, because they don't feel that they can live up to what we do. And that's a shame in one essence, because you really don't. Like, to be a client of mine, you don't have to be me. You don't have to be as consistent or whatever. You can still do very well with a slightly tapered down approach. But people feel a lot of pressure, I think, looking up to guys like us that have the consistency and that do basically live and breathe it. But I think what they fail to realize is that it's almost ingrained in us. Like, we don't go through a day and sort of think about having to do these things. We just do it. It comes like, boom, like naturally. And I think that's a really important thing. If you're chasing something like, the upper echelons of natural bodybuilding or whatever sport you're doing, it's got to, half of the work ethic side of things has got to come quite naturally for you to get a grip and really chase things. That's my thoughts on that, dude.
I agree. I can take so much value off that, and I'm going to go back after this and just read through that answer again, because that's something I need to address right now. Amazing, man. So just like one final question, just to kind of round this off, like, what's the end goal for AJ Morris? What does AJ Morris want to be when he grows up?
I think if you asked me like 10 years ago, it would have been like Buzz Lightyear or some shit. But I'm not going to be Buzz, so I'll be something else. I mean, for me, dude, I think when I got the first opportunity to travel out to the world with the UK DFBA and Lee and Amy, I felt immediately like I owed them the world because those people are, like, I'm very lucky to call Lee and Amy my close friends, and they look after me a lot. They do a lot for me. I think one of my main goals is to continually give back to the sport, especially the guys that run the UK DFBA, and that's no hate to any other federation at all. Yeah. It's just the closest relationship that I've had has been with those guys. But I think what people need to realise too is that I want to give back to all aspects of natural bodybuilding, whether it's people in the States competing, whether it's people in the UK competing, or like, that's the reason why I do the natty scene. It's the reason why I do the weekly roundup when I can do it, and I mention when the next shows are, and I mention where to get tickets, and I want to just create a bigger perspective for the sports. That is one of my main goals.
Amazing.
Is to really give back to the sport, because it literally, mate, it's like, it's given literally what I do for a living to me. That's what the sport offers me. It offers me a pay packet at the end of the month. It offers me to sit here and do things like this with you at 9:30 and not have to rush off to an office job. Like, we are damn lucky. We work damn hard, but we're also damn lucky, dude. So that's what I want to continue doing, because at the end of the day, the way the sport lives and breathes is how I will live and breathe. So I need to keep it fucking alive. And make it bigger than ever. If we burn the natural bodybuilding fire bigger than ever, so will my business. It's a give and take thing. So that's number one. And then number two is obviously to earn the WNBF Pro card. And that I definitely want to get that boxed off within the next 5 years. At the end of the day, Josh, you know what it's like. It's like who turns up. So if I get my cards right and I'm good on the day and everything works well, I do think that it can be achieved in a matter of 2 or 3 years, maybe even as soon as next year. I hate saying it because I'm my worst critic. Like, I will critique myself a lot, and I will find it hard to think that I'm good enough to do what I do. I found it really hard to tell myself that I wanted to win a world championship last year. I found it really difficult to say that. But when I did it, it gave me that little edge of confirmation. So that's that. And then, like, following on from that is to win professional shows and really stamp my name in the books. Like I want to be the next Brian Whitaker kind of thing. Like, I want to be someone that people in natural bodybuilding look up to and think, fuck, there was that guy called AJ and he was pretty damn good. Like, I would like that a lot. So that's that. And then business wise, obviously just continue to develop and make sure that I'm impacting a lot of people from a perspective of getting people on stage, but also impacting them in terms of their life and what they do and how they think about things, their thought processes, their mindset towards things greater than bodybuilding, like just general sort of life circumstances and stuff. And that's why I shared what happened to me at the start of the year with my mum. I shared quite a bit of that because I wanted to prove to people that in those times it's more so a case of mental fortitude and how positive you can be in what would be deemed as quite a negative environment. So I think I'll continue sharing stuff like that.
Please do.
Yeah, and I'll continue speaking about things quite honestly and openly because I think that's what social media offers us. It's a very important outlet, and we have to treat it with caution, and we have to treat it nicely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just literally have to just be yourself on it. I think that's also what you do very well, dude. You're very much yourself on social media, and especially on your podcast, and you speak a lot about things that are very real and honest. And I do definitely appreciate that from you, and Tom as well, who comes on the podcast a lot. I think you guys are very honest individuals. I don't see any sort of stuff behind curtains with you guys. You speak how it is, which is good.
Cheers. Thank you so much. You guys, this has been a great podcast. I appreciate you for coming on. Honestly, man, you've motivated me for so long, and just to hear these words come out of your mouth, like the way they come out, like it gives me tingles. It literally does. It gives me tingles on my arms, and like it motivates me. And to see someone so young, so ambitious, and just so like established where you are, it's amazing. So guys, anyone listening out to this who wants to follow AJ's journey, I highly recommend you do. It's been incredible so far, and it's gonna get better. All of his stuff's gonna be in the show notes. Check him out. I appreciate AJ for coming on. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Speak to you very soon. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Nice one, dude.
Cool, dude. That was wicked.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Honestly, like all of that stuff, I believe it from every echelon of my body. Amazing, man. Can't wait to see the rest of the journey, and speak to you very soon.
Yes, mate, and a session soon as well. We'll get out booked.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Okay, matey.
Nice
Have a
one,
good
dude.
day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
See you in a bit, boss. Bye.